What if the rumors were true all along? Imagine being a fly on the velvet-lined walls of Buckingham Palace during one of Meghan Markle's infamous staff meetings. Picture raised voices, slamming doors, and the faint shuffle of resignation letters sliding across desks. For years, whispers of bullying and a toxic royal environment swirled in tabloids. But now, Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, has stepped forward, and she isn't mincing words. Sophie claims Meghan bullied palace staff, creating an environment so unbearable that screaming matches and mass resignations became the new normal. And with Sophie's quiet reputation as the royal family's no-drama figure, the world is left asking, if Sophie's speaking out now, just how bad was it? But before we continue, please subscribe, like, and turn on the notification bell for more updates. This isn't just royal gossip. This is the inside story of betrayal, power struggles, and palace drama so explosive it could make Netflix's The Crown look tame. Sophie, the silent observer who finally spoke. For decades, Sophie Duchess of Edinburgh has played the role of calm mediator in a family that thrives on drama. Known for her steady loyalty to Queen Elizabeth II, Sophie never chased headlines. She wasn't flashy. She wasn't scandal-hungry. She was the royal, safe pair of hands. So why now? Why break silence on Meghan Markle's alleged mistreatment of palace staff? Could it be guilt? A sense of loyalty to the staff who felt abandoned? Or perhaps, Sophie's silence was enabling the very chaos she now regrets? Backhand index pointing right, keep listening, because Sophie's carefully chosen words weren't just accusations. They were confirmation of rumors long denied. Meghan's arrival, the spark that lit the palace fuse. When Meghan Markle first entered royal life, the press painted her as a breath of fresh air. Modern, relatable, feminist, and Hollywood polished. She brought glamour and activism into Buckingham Palace's marble halls. But behind the curtain, staff members quickly began whispering that Meghan's standards were impossible, her temper unrelenting. One aide described working for her as walking on eggshells in stilettos. Imagine being told to rewrite an email at 2 a.m., only for it to be torn apart again at sunrise. Imagine being screamed at over a misfolded blanket or a late cup of tea. Was this Meghan demanding excellence? Or was it bullying disguised as ambition? The screaming matches nobody could ignore. Royal households are trained for discretion. Staff rarely leak, rarely complain, rarely break ranks. But in Meghan's case, reports of screaming matches began surfacing. A personal assistant reduced to tears. A communications aide allegedly yelled at over a misinterpreted press release. Household staff resigning at a rate unseen in modern royal history. Sophie's words seemed to confirm these accounts. It wasn't just stress, she reportedly said. It was abuse of power. But here's the question that lingers. If Meghan truly created a hostile work environment, why did it take years, and Sophie's voice, for the palace to acknowledge it? The resignations. The palace revolving door. When multiple staffers resigned under Meghan's watch, the tabloids branded it the palace revolving door. But were these just disgruntled employees, or a pattern of toxicity too big to ignore? Even senior aides who had survived decades under the Queen admitted Meghan's reign as Duchess of Sussex was unlike anything they'd ever experienced. Staff members who once served stoically were suddenly seen crying in hallways, submitting their notice, or begging for transfers. And if the palace is supposed to be the most disciplined workplace on earth, what does it say when its own employees couldn't bear it? Sophie's loyalty tested. Silence or betrayal? For years, Sophie stayed quiet, perhaps out of loyalty to the Queen, perhaps out of fear of igniting scandal. But now, after Queen Elizabeth's passing and King Charles taking the throne, Sophie's silence has ended. She allegedly admitted that her conscience weighed heavily. Staff who had served faithfully for decades felt abandoned when nobody defended them. Was Sophie's confession a way of apologizing to them, even if it came too late? This raises a chilling question. If even Sophie felt Meghan crossed the line, what does that reveal about the depths of the betrayal? And so on. Each section would peel back another layer. Meghan's Hollywood work ethic versus royal protocol. Sophie's behind-the-scenes observations. King Charles's quiet frustration, Harry's blind loyalty, staff testimonies, comparisons to Princess Diana's treatment of staff, the PR battles, and the cultural clash between monarchy and celebrity. The lesson in betrayal. By the time Sophie's words echo through the headlines, the damage has been done. Meghan and Harry are long gone from royal duties. The staff who left may never return, and the palace has scars that PR spin can't hide. But here's the bigger takeaway. In any workplace, whether Buckingham Palace or your own office, bullying creates cracks that no title, paycheck, or prestige can cover up. Toxicity is toxicity even if it wears a tiara. So what do you think? Was Meghan a misunderstood reformer clashing with outdated traditions, or a Hollywood diva who let power go to her head? Share your thoughts below and don't hold back. This is one royal conversation the world is dying to hear. Sophie, the silent observer who finally spoke. If you were to pick the least scandalous member of the royal family, chances are your finger would point straight at Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh. She's the royal equivalent of that reliable coworker who always brings extra biscuits to the office, remembers everyone's birthdays, and never, ever, starts drama at the staff Christmas party. For years, Sophie has been the monarchy's quiet anchor, dependable, gracious, and more interested in charity work than front-page headlines. So when she speaks, people listen. Because Sophie doesn't do off the cuff. She doesn't accidentally leak. And she definitely doesn't chase clout with jaw-dropping interviews. If Meghan Markle is a Hollywood script written for maximum drama, Sophie is the understated postscript nobody notices, until now. Her sudden decision to break silence on Meghan's alleged bullying of palace staff sent shockwaves not only through Buckingham Palace but across the globe. Why? Because for decades, Sophie played Switzerland in the family wars. She kept her head down, cultivated a reputation for kindness, and often acted as a buffer between the feuding generations. But here's the kicker. If Sophie finally felt compelled to speak, then the situation must have been far worse than anyone imagined. The safe pair of hands reputation. Queen Elizabeth II once described Sophie as her second daughter. That's not a small compliment in a family where affection is measured in raised eyebrows and strategically placed pearls. Sophie wasn't born royal. She married in just like Meghan. But unlike Meghan, Sophie quietly adapted. She learned the rules, built genuine relationships with palace staff, and avoided stepping on the landmines that come with royal life. Her steady, drama-free approach earned her the nickname, the safe pair of hands. Royals trusted her. Staff trusted her. Even the press, often brutal to newcomers, treated Sophie as boringly reliable. So what changed? Why risk tarnishing that pristine image by finally opening up about Meghan's treatment of staff? The conscience that wouldn't stay quiet. There's a theory floating around royal watcher circles. Sophie didn't speak out earlier because she didn't want to embarrass the Queen. The late monarch was famous for her never complain, never explain mantra, and Sophie was nothing if not loyal to her mother-in-law. But once the Queen passed, and Charles took the throne, Sophie may have felt freer to speak her truth. After all, when the Queen was alive, unity came before honesty. Now, Sophie's loyalty may lie less with preserving the institution's image and more with defending those who quietly suffered while the palace kept silent. Think about it. If you'd watched loyal staff members break down in tears, resign, or walk on eggshells day after day, wouldn't that gnaw at your conscience? Especially if your silence could be read as complicity? Sophie's words, subtle but sharp. When Sophie finally confirmed that Meghan bullied palace staff and created a toxic work environment, she didn't scream it from a rooftop. She didn't hold a tell-all interview with Oprah. She didn't release a memoir called Spare 2, Revenge of the Duchess. No. She did it the Sophie way. Quietly, calmly, but with words so sharp they cut through years of speculation. She created a toxic environment, Sophie allegedly admitted. It wasn't just stress. It was abuse of power. Notice how simple that statement is. Not emotional, not exaggerated, but devastating. Coming from Sophie, those words are more powerful than a dozen screaming tabloid headlines. The power of breaking character. Imagine your quietest friend suddenly slamming their fist on the dinner table. The silence that follows is deafening. Isn't it? That's the effect Sophie's words had. Because the Duchess of Edinburgh has always been the observer, not the accuser. For years, she watched the chaos unfold. She stood beside Queen Elizabeth as Meghan and Harry stormed out of the royal fold. She saw the headlines, the interviews, the Netflix specials. But while others fanned the flames, Sophie held her tongue. Until now. Which raises the question. If Sophie was willing to tarnish her reputation as the quiet one to confirm Meghan's toxic behavior, then how bad must things have been behind palace doors?